Lindsay. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for hopping on and joining my live.
Oh my gosh, you're welcome. Sorry, I had to throw myself outside. It's way too crazy in my house right now with kids running everywhere. So we're gonna do it.
All right. So, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Yeah, so I'm based in Pittsburgh. We live like 45 minutes south. So just
Mhm,
wedding photographer. I do a little bit of bridal fashion on the off season. Um,
mhm.
and I started actually out west, so Idaho and Utah. And then we moved out here, and here we are to stay. So
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
And to let everyone know, I met Megan at an event and she was amazing. And she had a gallery to me, I think like in a week, and said, I hope these pictures bless your business. And ever since that left such an impression on me. So I said, I will forever be friends with Megan.
I love it.
Thank you for doing that.
You're
All
welcome.
right. So we're talking about getting ready on the wedding day. And the reason why I chose this topic is because I feel like with a little bit more planning and organization, this can really help the rest of your day go smoothly. There might be some things that I have on my checklist. If you go on the blog on designsbycmevents.com, I actually have a checklist that you can save to your phone, print, do whatever you want with it. But I want to talk through some must-have, some things that I've thought about over some weddings that might be nice to consider having with you or when deciding on your getting ready space. So one thing is to have a clean and clutter-free space. Can you please tell me how important that is from a photography standpoint?
Yeah, so I always try and ask my brides if you're going to even be getting ready at a like hotel, or even like at your house, make sure there's more than one window. Because like you said, a clutter-free space, you're not gonna want like Fiji bottles in your pictures. Because you're getting ready pictures, those are some of the most beautiful portraits of your wedding day. And so even if we have to move tables out of the way, we'll do it just to get the picture. But yeah, those portraits, they're going to be some that it's going to be in your album and you're going to print them. So yes, clutter free around the windows.
Okay. So clutter-free, a room that has at least two windows. So great lighting. We know great
Yes.
lighting is important in photography. Also, another thing I have on my must-have list is an invitation suite to photograph. So you would be surprised how many of my clients I remind them, hey, when you're talking to, usually if I'm doing the design as well for most of my weddings, I will go ahead and coordinate with the person who's making the stationery and say, hey, we might need two extra sets.
Yes. And
Um,
I remember you did that at that last wedding we worked. And it was so nice to have two because you use them. Every photographer uses, they're not just using one invitation suite to do like the final picture. So you're really good at that, by the way.
Yes, so I have some examples. So, for example, if you have an invitation suite that has details on the front, and then you also have details on the back, you want to make sure that you're able to get both. So, usually I'll work with the person doing the stationery and I'll say, hey, can I get two sets? And that way, when we're doing the flat lay, we'll be able to see all the details. You won't leave anything out.
Yes, I love that.
Um, I have another example. So this invitation suite. And I let the photographer know for the getting ready, and I do this sometimes. I'll let them know what things that are important to photograph. Like this had a details card, they had a map inside. So I'll let them know, hey, that
Cute.
card there has a map. I think that would be really good to photograph and include in their flat lay. So, in case someone doesn't know what a flat lay is or why we put so much thought and detail into this, I have a picture here that I can show you really quick. But usually your photographer or your wedding designer, if you can see that, will style something really, really pretty with your invitations, and it'll just be something very memorable when you go back and look through your wedding gallery.
Yeah,
Spend so
and
much money on invitations,
yes, that's what I was going to say is you spend so much time designing them and working with all of these vendors, at least from a photographer stance. You don't just want to just throw them on, like the floor. I know like when I first started, flat lays weren't really a big thing, so you would just kind of put the invitation suite like on a piece of wood or like on the floor or something and take a picture. But brides and grooms are spending so much more time like really curating like a beautiful cohesive wedding. So yes, I definitely
Mhm.
think creating that beautiful flat lay, it's definitely worth it.
All right, so a room with a lot of light, a lot of windows, bring an invitation suite. So ask if you can get 1 to 2 extra for yourself to save for your photographer to take pictures. Also, make sure that you wear something that buttons up or comes open in the front so that when you get ready to change into your dress that you're not pulling it over your hair or messing up your makeup. So that's another tip that I have. Also, water, staying hydrated. I feel like for me at least, sometimes when I'm busy or nervous, I forget to drink water and to stay hydrated. So I always recommend in the bridal suite having tons of bottled water for everyone. You don't want anyone standing up at the front later on and feeling like dehydrated or faint. So making sure everyone has water, limit the coffee, limit the
Yeah,
alcohol,
we've had that happen, so it's scary.
and stick to water as much as possible. Also, another thing, you want to make sure you have food for your wedding party. You do not want everyone in the room with you getting ready from 8 o'clock in the morning and then the ceremony isn't until 4 and they don't have anything to eat. So, good things to have in the getting ready room are a protein, which is going to help you stay full longer, some healthy fats. So, that might be nuts, walnuts, avocado. You might also want to consider fruit. So, one thing I know just from in the past, like doing fitness, is that if you eat cruciferous vegetables, so cauliflower, broccoli, those things actually bloat you. So, like if you buy the veggie trays, you'll want to avoid broccoli, those cauliflower things for the day of the
That's
wedding
good to
because
know.
they can actually make you bloated. So,
Hmm.
that's one tip there. What do you want to say about the shoes, dress, and like the accessories? So, how you work with that
How
and
we go about
styling that?
working. Yeah, so usually like the wedding planner will have all of the things in like a bucket for us, and we if there's not like enough light in the hotel room, we'll go and scout around the hotel and try and find like the most natural light where we can kind of like do like a little setup. I would say for dress, beforehand appoint a bridesmaid to help us. They usually take like 3 to 4 people to get the shots that we need, just making sure like extra precautions, like we're not gonna pop a button or anything, because we do transfer the dress onto like a gold antique hanger, or like a wooden one depending on the theme of the wedding. So I would say like appointing a bridesmaid just to kind of be like our helper throughout like the getting ready day, especially if you don't have a planner. You were always there, so it was easy. But if you don't have a planner, making sure someone's there. Um, I know for like a previous wedding, and it was like my favorite dress shot. We were up on like the 25th floor, and we walked into the hotel, and there was like this stunning glass staircase, and you could hang a dress like at the top of it. And we were like, they might kill us, but we showed her, and she's like, no, do it. So like I think just also just trusting your photographer, because that shot, like it was it was the highlight of the detail. So getting creative with the dress. And then for shoes, I would say yes, like try them on, get comfy with them, but try not to leave any marks. It will show up in pictures, and Photoshop is not that easy to get like brown spots out if you're going to be walking around in them. And then as far as, let's see, what else did you ask me? Shoes, dress.
Accessories, the
Yeah.
veil, jewelry.
Yes, I would say whatever you want photographed, like even if we don't get to it all, throw anything like you're going to be wearing that day. Anything that means something to you. Like if your parents gift you something, I would definitely throw that in. You may have like a big box, but if we don't get to it, we don't get to it. But we'll obviously get what we need to, and we can throw in, different things like your like family heirlooms and stuff. So I would say, yeah, throw in a big box of stuff that you want photographed, and let your photographer have fun with it.
Okay, so let your photographer know that you have a box of items
Yeah,
or somewhere where they can get to it. So while you're getting ready, they're not having to interrupt you, and just let them know, hey, over here in this suitcase or in this container, I
yeah,
have all the items that need to be photographed, and they'll
yes,
take care of that for you.
yes. If it's ready to
Another
go, that
thing,
works good.
yes. So another thing that I think is really good to have is a nice playlist. So having music, also having a ring box. So I know you like to use ring boxes in
Yes.
your photographs and flat lays,
Yeah.
and just for reference, having something like this, and you can order these online. I believe you can get them on Etsy. Do you have any recommendation for ring boxes?
I always love the Mrs. Box. They're a little bit more pricey, but the quality, it just in photographs, it just photographs so good. So that's the only ones that I use right now. But I there are tons of them on Etsy that are really cute too.
Okay, so you can do like the velvet ring box, or you can
Hmm.
do a glass, like the glass and gold ring box.
Yeah.
And what I use my ring box for when I can remember to do this, but sometimes when I travel for destination weddings, I may not want to carry my jewelry with me, so I'll just
Yeah.
put it back in my wedding ring box somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. Sometimes you can buy them if you want to keep them, but a lot of times your photographer, if they have a styling kit, they'll actually bring that. If you tell them like they know the colors and everything, they can bring coordinating styling items. And so while we're talking about that, in my styling kit, I usually try to keep ribbon, and you're really good at this, so this usually doesn't happen, usually have everything, but if I have to bring something for the photographer, I try to go ahead and coordinate ahead of time some colors, order some items. So I keep like really nice raw silk ribbon and carry all that with me in my styling kit. I carry a styling kit as well.
Yes.
Okay, so other things that you can bring are vow books, love letters. So if you have a love note, I remember one time for a client, I actually had their vows hand lettered and had calligraphy done as a surprise to them as a gift on their
I
wedding
love
day, and
that.
it photographed really well. What else can I show you here? You were talking about the hangers earlier, and I really liked what you mentioned about making sure it goes with your theme. And I use a lot of acrylic in my designs, so I thought that these bridal hangers are really cute. And so you can go on Etsy, different online websites. You can order, get them custom made. I know a lot of brides now have their own, is it a Cricut machine that
I think
cuts the
so.
vinyl?
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah, yeah.
sure. I don't have one, but you can buy acrylic hangers and put the names on them, and it'll be really modern, chic, and look really good in pictures.
Yes.
All right. So another thing your photographer usually likes to photograph is your fragrance as well. And people don't usually consider this, but I love candles. I feel like candles relax me. So I would love to have candles in the getting ready room with me. And my favorite fragrance. Do you have a favorite fragrance, or the one you remember when you got married? What did you have?
I'm an essential oil diffuser. So I did like sweet orange. That was like the scent. So
Okay.
yeah.
I personally am a huge fan of Jo Malone, and they actually
Ooh,
have matching candles that go with their
that's cute.
perfume. So if it were me getting ready, I know for sure I would have a Jo Malone perfume and also a matching fragrance just in the room, making everything smell pretty.
And to kind of go along with that, I think anything you can do to create an experience, like speaking as a bride. So anything that you can do to make your bridesmaids and your vendors comfortable, just to create not like a stressed out day, not a stressed out morning. So like your candle thing, just anything little that you can do just to kind of set the mood for having fun, enjoying yourself. Like the snacks that you said earlier, making sure everyone's fed. I think that just goes a long way. They're gonna last a lot longer um, throughout the reception and stuff. So
Okay, so another thing that you definitely want to bring with you for getting ready, I think that that's the perfect time to give your bridesmaids gifts. So, just as an example here, a lot of my brides will bring tote bags for their brides. The robes have those already hanging up in the room, sometimes gift boxes. So, that's a good time to give them all their day of items. So, their jewelry, whatever they're going to wear that day, and have it set up in the room really nice for them. And that's also another photograph opportunity.
yep.
Another thing I like to make sure that the brides have in their room are their bouquets. So if possible, I try to make sure that they have those. Do you like to take pictures of the bridal party with their bouquets like ahead of time in the room or?
I usually don't know, so I'll just wait until they're all in their gowns to get like
Okay.
the bridesmaids. But for sure, the bride, her bouquet always gets photographed with her, and then just like on a styling mat as well. So
Okay. So definitely having the bride have her bouquet in the
yeah,
room while you're taking those photos.
yes.
Okay. Also, you want to consider like planning out your day to when your photographer is going to arrive. So, Megan, maybe you can speak to this, but what is the average number of hours that most people do for photography
Right now it's 10, so I would say 8 to 10 hours of like from start to finish.
from start to finish? Okay.
Hmm.
So, you want to consider the time that your photographer is going to arrive when you are figuring out your timeline for getting ready. And your planner can help you with this, but you want to consider number one, how many people do you have in your wedding party getting ready? Is it you, six bridesmaids, and then you have your parents and a flower girl? And each of them are going to take at least, usually for hair and makeup, an hour. So you're definitely probably going to need, if you have 8 people, more than one stylist doing everyone's hair and makeup. Also, you want to make sure that those pretty like robe shots that you get, that those are done with the makeup and hair done. So you don't want anyone taking pictures, just like wait, like they just woke up, their hair is in
Yes.
curlers of their hair. You want to make sure that you time when the photographer photographs your girls all coordinated, that everyone has their hair and makeup done. So that is one detail I have there.
And I always tell
Um,
my brides that we kind of get there about 45 minutes before their hair and makeup is done. That way, we're not getting pictures of them without hair and makeup done. And that time is being used to do all of their details. That way, when they're putting on like the final lipstick, that's when we're going to start getting like our pictures. So, just a little
okay.
note there.
And so usually in that time before you photographing all the details, like the flat lay, invitation, and all those things, right?
Yes.
Okay. Another thing I want to mention is that when I'm doing the timeline for my weddings, I never have my bride go last. Never. For hair and makeup, I
Good.
always have them go like maybe second to last or in the middle, but the wedding cannot start without you. So if you're like running way late behind, like I like to know that you're done, you're out the way, that you're resting. And
That's
so that's a
smart.
tip. So on my timelines, if you're working with me, you never go last for hair and makeup. So the getting ready time, again, kind of helps determine the rest of the day. If everything's on time, everyone's ready to go, it just sets the mood for the entire day. So for the men, do you have any tips that you would like to give for the groomsmen, the groom?
Honestly, I would say the biggest tip is just to tell them they're not going to be in front of the camera for like more than 10 minutes because we take all their details and we'll get it pictured when we do the brides details, so they don't even have to be smiling for those pictures. And then grooms, we show up when they're already dressed. We just tell them to leave off their cufflinks, their watch, shoes, and their jacket. That way, when we come in, that's all we have to photograph, and we'll just put them right by the window. And we'll just kind of coach them like, all right, now just put your jacket on. It's very candid. We know our grooms don't usually love to be in front of the camera, so just making it as easy as possible for them to enjoy the photo process. So
They always have it easy, like the least amount
they
of things to
do.
do and worry about. So my tips are make sure you have everything with you. Number one, don't leave your dress shirt at home. You need your dress shirt because that's happened. Like we've had to go and find another shirt because a groomsman like forgot the shirt to go with their tux.
Oh, that'd
So
be stressful.
make sure the night before, maybe even you make sure you have everything. Make sure everything's a wrinkle free. So even for the ladies, making sure like those robes are whatever the
Yeah.
rompers that they're going to take pictures in, make sure that those don't have wrinkles in them.
Yeah.
How it looks in person is how it's going to look in the photo. It's going to have
Yep.
wrinkles in the picture.
Yeah. Photoshop is not that great.
Another thing, like for the guys, a lot of times they like to photograph, like you said, the cufflinks, get special close-up details of that, their cologne, sunglasses, watch, shoes. just lay all those things out. Bow tie.
Mhm.
Now that I mentioned bow tie, make sure if you're gonna have a bow tie that someone knows how to tie the bow tie.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I know, like, I had a wedding where I was busy setting up, and the groomsmen were like, none of us know how to tie a bow tie. So, like, I'm like, do I know how to tie a bow tie? So, like, that's something that I've since learned how to do. But at the time, I'm like, well, why do we have bow ties and don't know how to tie them? So,
That's smart.
make
Yeah.
sure someone knows how to tie the bow tie, and also be on time. Be on time and don't drink too much. Okay, don't get the groom drunk
Oh
or
gosh,
anything,
yes.
so moderation. All right, so here's some things to consider. I do have questions for you. What do you think, like, the bridal party or just like the getting ready process is going to look now with the pandemic that we have going on?
I know everyone says it, and I'm gonna just agree. I think everything is going to still be immaculate and very detail oriented, but just on a smaller scale. Um, so I know lots of my brides this year have just cut down like their wedding party to just very close friends, so like one or two. Um, so I think it's gonna be interesting. I don't know that for sure, but from what my brides are doing, everything seems to just be getting a little bit smaller, but still like super beautiful, super fun, and the most important, like they're still getting married. So
Okay. And I thought about that with like all the pretty getting ready pictures, like in the robe, everyone's like on close on each other, and
yeah, it's
um,
gonna be different. That's for
yeah.
sure.
So that's one thing I thought about. And also just making sure you have enough space in the room, maybe for like everyone to spread out and have their own space, might
Yes.
help people be more comfortable. And maybe even having your bridal party, each one of them taking individual pictures. Like, you may not get like the group photos.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I like that
But
idea. Yeah.
option. Um, so we talked about, will the space photograph well? So when you're thinking about what hotel or you're getting ready space, so for a lot of our destination weddings, that's one challenge that we have, because a lot of times they get married off resort. And if they're getting married off resort, we usually have to find a space for them to get ready. So one thing to consider is just, how is the space going to photograph? You want it to be a really nice space, nice decor, clean, like we talked about before. Is the space quiet or at home with a lot of commotion? So you want to consider, who's going to be in the room with you? Is it a relaxing space? So those are all things to consider. What are some things that you have for consideration?
I would say this is going to sound silly, but I would honestly, wherever you choose to get ready, I would go and tour it first. Um, some of even like the downtown, like nicer, even like Marriott's, they'll have just funky colors on the wall, and you don't realize it then, but in pictures. So I know a lot of at least in Pittsburgh, have like this yellow color on the wall, and that's going to reflect onto your skin tone, changing it like to like a yellow tint. So I would say definitely like very neutral wall
Mhm.
colors, and not a lot of distractions. So whether that's frames or art or whatever it is on the wall, just making sure you pick a space that really kind of like reflects the overall theme of your wedding. Colors too.
And the colors. You bring up a good point. So I have been seeing for some like really high-end weddings that people are doing these custom like bridal. Can you see that?
Go up just a little bit more. Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. So some people are actually getting like custom bridal suite
I
areas
love
made
it.
and
I
yeah.
love it because you cannot go wrong with them. You don't have to have like a certain color. You know it's already going to be there. It's going to be cohesive with your wedding. You can set it up right next to a window. I've even started seeing just this past year, late last year, um, like photography backdrops, how they're like the paper seamless backdrops.
Yes.
Um, I've even started seeing those being set up, and it's beautiful because it's so cohesive with your overall theme. So I don't know. I've been seeing lots of fun stuff, and it's just it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I feel like now, like, everything's like turning in my head. Like, even for these
I know.
destination weddings, maybe I'll surprise my brides with a custom getting ready room with floral and all kind of
Yes.
things. Or like you said, like a nice space where they can take pictures, where it won't have like the decor from the hotel room that necessarily doesn't
Yes. Yeah.
flow with the rest of the look.
Yep.
That's a good idea. Some other things I have to consider. How do you feel about props? So like if a bride finds something on Pinterest and they're like, I want the bride balloons in the background and confetti and like these different things, like how do you feel about that? I know some photographers don't like to necessarily copy like trendy like things on Pinterest. So how do you handle that?
Um, Although it may not be my favorite thing to shoot, it's not my wedding day, so I'm team bride. So if they want to do the balloons, I have no problem doing that. I'll definitely shoot it. It will be in their gallery. Will I post it? Probably not, but it's not my wedding. And if that's what makes them happy, I am more than happy to get pictures. So if they wanted like the getting ready pictures by like balloons, I'll definitely do that. But then I will just say, hey, let's sneak over here. And it'll be just like a blank space where it's consistent with my work. That way, they're getting the things that they hired me for along with whatever they want for their wedding day. So
Yeah. That's good. That's another thing. Like always at the end of the day, remembering that it is their wedding and doing, what they want, what will make them happy. And I kind of
yeah,
work the same way. I'll photograph things like two ways. So if they like something one way, if I know that my style is a little bit like more clean, then I may like do another styling
yeah,
to fit my look as well. Especially like maybe if they have like certain favors and things they want out on the table. I may like get a photograph with the table like clean without that and then add
yeah,
their personal items
yeah,
as well.
yeah. I like that. They hired you for your style, so I don't think it hurts to shoot it both way for them.
Yeah. What about pets? Have you seen people bringing their pets to their getting ready or wanting to
I've
take
had,
pictures with their pet?
yeah, I've had a few. And I would say as long as your dogs aren't like crazy running around, I would say do it. Anything that adds craziness to the getting ready person of the day, I would say try not to. But
Mhm.
there's always those dogs that just kind of lay there. So yeah, I have seen them a few times.
Okay. And one more thing I had, what do you think about doing a mini boudoir session in the getting ready photos? So like, let's say you're doing your getting ready, you got the robe shots and maybe like the bridesmaids get dressed and go hang out in the lobby somewhere or somewhere else. And the bride has a moment to herself to take boudoir session. Like, can they do that?
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot that goes into like planning the boudoir session. So as long as you're working with your planner and your photographer to be able to create those images, I would say if your space allows you to be able to successfully like pull off a beautiful boudoir session, I would say do it. They don't take that long anyway. So even if you just plan like 15 to 20 minutes, I would say do it. Another thing to consider though about doing that on your wedding day is I know when I do boudoir sessions, a lot of my brides come in and they're nervous, and that's normal. I would say if it's going to add lots of stress to your wedding day, just to schedule it beforehand so you don't have those extra nerves. But yeah, I would say if you're gonna have fun doing it and you've got the beautiful space, then yeah, do it.
Okay. I know some figure, since I have the hotel here now, I can do it like at the same time while my hair and makeup's professionally done and get it all
Hmm.
done in one shot. So I've seen it done both ways.
Yeah.
And what about the flower girl? Or have you noticed anything about people having a ton of people in the room? Like, does it kind of just depend, or do you feel like less is better, or everyone there? Like anything that you
I
prefer?
Yeah, I would say just um choose whoever's going to be in like your getting ready room. Just choose them wisely. If you don't get along with them, don't invite them to be there. I mean, unless they're your bridesmaid, then have them there. But yeah, I would just say if you get along with like your bride or your flower girl, and they're not going to add stress to your getting ready, then definitely invite them. Even if they're gonna come like a little bit later after you have your
Mhm.
pictures taken, that way they can at least ride on like the limo with you. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
I would just say choose your people wisely.
Yeah. I know for me, like with my destination wedding, it's hard for me to say no. So I wanted everyone there, but like I had my sorority sisters and my parents and all my friends, in the room.
Yep.
And then like it's so hot in here and like we're sweating. So,
Yeah.
like maybe even if you're having a destination wedding, consider like the space and
Yeah.
more bodies, it's going to get hotter. And then, anyone who's kind of, like you said, may add any type of stress to your day. Just maybe have people come in at certain times, like
Yeah.
schedule the time they come to
Yeah.
the room with you. Yeah.
I think that's great. Yeah, at least just have them after you're done getting pictures, and then have, those select people arrive. I think that's a great idea too.
Yeah. So those are the only things I really wanted to go over today. I have, again, this information on the blog. So if you go on designsbycmevents.com, I have an entire checklist that I made here for you. And you can save that to your phone or download it. But it has, and hopefully you can see this, but like all the must-haves, and it has your considerations. I also put some popular shops where a lot of my brides get their getting ready attire. Plum Pretty Sugar, ASOS, Anthropologie, and Amazon are definitely really good places to get items. One thing I didn't mention is usually with my brides, I'll drop off a care package or an emergency kit while getting ready. So I feel like that's something really great to have if you don't have a planner. Make sure that you
Yeah.
have some type of emergency kit, and you can get those on Amazon. I've seen them like already made, and those are a good base, and you can just add other items to it. But making sure you have an emergency kit, bringing that kit with you, have like delegated to a bridesmaid to make sure that it's on hand when you leave the hotel as well, or you're getting ready space.
I love
Is
that.
there anything else that you wanted to add?
I think the only thing else is dealing with like the florals. And I know you did this at all like the things that we've done together in the weddings we've shot, but having or asking beforehand if you don't have a planner, asking your florist to just throw in some extra blooms and stems for the styling. If you're gonna want those beautiful flat lay pictures, there's obviously a lot of planning that goes in beforehand, and then one of those things need to be additional blooms because we're obviously not going to take them from your bouquet, but we want them to match your bouquet. So I think that would be the only other thing that I would add.
Okay. And if you're just joining now, so we talked about flat lays earlier, and that's when they take your invitation suite and make them look really, really pretty. A lot of times we like to add floral to that. So you'll want to coordinate with the florist or your planner to make sure that there are blooms like in a vase already ready for the photographer. And usually, if I'm able to get those flowers, I'll just place them next to all the items together that need to be photographed already there. And usually if I'm there from the beginning, like with the design, I will go ahead and talk to the photographer beforehand, and we'll talk about possible flat lay ideas and items, and we'll coordinate on that.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, that's all that I have. Thank you so much for your time and for joining me to talk about getting ready. And I
You're
think it is,
welcome.
again, like I said, if you just put a little bit more thought into it and have a plan, and you're organized or coordinate with your planner on what details you should have that day. I think those are some really great pictures that you'll be glad that you had because you put the extra planning into it. So,
I 100% agree. Yep.
all right. Thank you. Hey,
You're
Marilyn. Thank
welcome.
you for hopping on. So we're going to go ahead and close out. Again, make sure you go on the blog, get your checklist, and let me know how you enjoyed the live. You can send me a DM or email me, but any feedback is appreciated, and I'll be going live all this month.
See
Thank
ya.
you.
Thank you.
All right, bye.